Hi guys, this is Jiggie, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So like most photographers, I started out as a hobbyist, and one of the biggest challenges that I had to face then was how to justify buying expensive gear, especially to my wife. And that's the reason why I am making this video. I wanted to share with you guys 6 legit ways that I was able to get my wife to support my photography hobby. So before I start, feel free to add more to this list via the comment section below, and let's help our fellow photographers. So the first thing that you have to remember is that you have to give your loved ones beautiful pictures and make sure to display it. Whenever you're starting, especially now that you're starting as a hobbyist photographer, the person that you can actually take pictures of or should be taking pictures of is that of your loved one. Okay, so I remember when I started photography way back in 2008. That was about a year before I was supposed to get married to my wife now. I remember taking full advantage of what we call the trial makeup, in which you hire the makeup artist that you want for your wedding day, and they do your makeup just to see if you guys are compatible when it comes to style. So I took advantage of that and I started taking her pictures with full professional makeup. So that's when I started playing around with the lights, I started playing around with posing, and it was very easy for me because of course I had a relationship with the subject that I was shooting. Though there might be a downside to that because I remember getting into so many arguments with my wife, with my fiance then, my wife now, about why this picture turned out this way and why this picture turned out that way. I was blaming her for the pose when in essence it was actually just me. It was my fault. But it's important for you to be able to make them the subject of your photography in order for them to fully support what it is that you're doing. And there are some instances also that whenever they gain weight, let's say when my wife got pregnant, I used photography in order to make her feel good about the weight that she carried. Like for example, in this photo that I'm showing you now, I made her look good even though she felt that she was so fat. And that is the essential thing for you to be able to get your wife to support the hobby, because when I shot these pictures, I was still a hobbyist then. I wasn't doing things professionally. And for me, it was very, very important to establish that trust so that she could fully support this thing that I got into, because as you guys all know, this is a very expensive hobby. Okay, the second way to do it is you borrow lens, gear, lights, whatever it is that you want to purchase. You borrow it first or you rent it, and then you shoot her using it. And then afterwards, after you finish shooting her, you're gonna say, hey babe, look how beautiful your image is. Then it's the only time you actually tell her, oh, you know what, I used something new to shoot you with this one. I used a new light, I used a new modifier, I used a new lens, I used a new camera. You see, the reason why you do that is for you to be able to show them properly instead of sales pitching them in terms of the features. Because you have to remember that they are not photographers, so they will not understand the technical side. You can't say that, hey, I need this new modifier because it's big, it'll give you soft light. They will say, okay, so what does soft light do? It's always best for you to be able to show them and see it and show them, look, babe, you look so beautiful here because look how beautiful the light is falling on your face. Look how soft it is. Look how this lens just blurs out the background, making you pop, making you like the star of the scene. So those are the little things that you can do in order to convince them to be able to support buying whatever it is that you need to buy. You have to be able to convince them in such a way that it's not technical, but rather show it to them. All right, so the third one, you also have to support their passion the same way you expect her to support yours. So how do I do that personally? Well, as I said earlier, my wife loves to dance. So what I did was actually integrate photography in terms of dance. I remember, again, I'll go back in 2008, the very, very first picture that I got published in a magazine, it was called Digital Photographer Philippines, was actually my wife dancing, and I shot it in a tiny room that was about, I think, 3 meters by 3 meters, and we did some dance moves. And I remember my light then was just a basic light that I couldn't even control the power, and it was just triggered via IR. So that's how I started and how everyone should actually start. But because of that, because when I started shooting her with dance, eventually when I got better in photography, I got the pictures that I took of her got even better too. So again, try as much as possible to integrate your passion with hers. It's always nice to be doing things together. Okay, now the fourth one. I don't know, I really don't know, to be honest, if I'm gonna get into trouble because of the video that I'm making now, but it's all true, honestly. Like the fourth reason why I was able to buy gear before I became a professional, because right now I'm doing it professionally, so it's no longer an issue whenever I buy gear, because it is for work, so it's justifiable already, and the business is the one that pays for the gear. But I remember during the time that I wanted, let's say, a new camera, I would always make it about the kids. So I would tell her like, oh babe, I think we need a new camera that focuses faster because the kids are getting big and they're running around. It's very difficult for me to capture those moments already. Or maybe, oh babe, we need another lens that could see more in the dark or can have more light come in so that whenever they're running around, it's easy for me to bring up the shutter speed and stop motion. So it's basically just bringing in another person to using another person in order to justify the purchase that you want to make. So, but again, in reality, I got into photography because I wanted to shoot my family. So whenever I do justify buying those things, let's say stuff that I can use it for the kids or when we travel, it is true, but of course there's an ulterior motive for it because you just want a new piece of tech when essentially you could actually work with what you have, but of course if you can get away with it, why not, right? So I actually use the kids a lot as an excuse to buy new gear. Okay, so that's the first four. Now those four are actually very, very serious that I personally have used in terms of trying to convince my wife to support this passion of mine. So, but then this last two, I actually learned through some of my friends who I actually don't want to name, because I really never used it, but according to they say they really do work. It's funny, actually, when I was making this list, I messaged them, and my friend said, oh, you have to add this and this and this. So they actually changed my list for me. The first one, this was actually funny when he was telling me about it, but it actually worked for him, is that play this, oh, it's so much cheaper than SRP card. In other words, you find the most expensive store selling the product that you want, and then you find the cheapest one and you go, hey babe, look at this one, it's about 20 to 30% less than actual SRP. It's on sale, it's beautiful, maybe you should get it now because it's a limited time offer. It's like limited time offer. More often than not, according to my friend, they don't really check. They just actually believe you and trust you when it comes to that. So I actually found it really funny that they were doing it. And then when I told them that I wanted to make a video out of it, they go, okay, make sure also to tell them that if they can find a store that will issue you 2 receipts, one for, let's say, 60% of the actual value and the other one at 40% value, you could even tell them that it was 40% off and show the receipt that you paid just 60%. So the things that friends think about just to be able to get their gear. Now, the last and final tip that they gave me was to just buy it and suffer the consequences afterwards. In other words, it is easier to say sorry than it is to ask permission. So I guess it did work for them. They just bought their gear and maybe they slept in the couch for a couple of days and they were able to get whatever it is that they wanted. Though those last two, maybe you shouldn't do. I think the first 4 is enough for you to be able to convince your wife or your special someone to buy you the gear that you want, especially if they see that you're very passionate and you are actually good at what you are doing. Because sometimes it's difficult for them to support something if you can't even take good pictures of them, right? So that's why it always goes back to the first one. Make sure you take good pictures of them and they will support you. Trust me on that. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that, and it was really fun thinking about it, but honestly, we got married for a reason, we chose our wife for a reason, And as much as I would say all 6 actually works, our wives are actually smarter than that and can see right through you. They basically know what you're doing, especially all about the kids and borrowing the lenses and showing them the difference. But you know, they are actually just saying yes because they love you and they want you to be happy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to see more of my images, you can find me on Instagram. It's at Jiggie Alejandrino. Okay, till the next video.